Hi, so I am going to show you how to make pasta and sauce. The sauce is super simple and easy. So you want to grab like a medium saucepan and you're going to put it on medium heat. And then to that you're going to add a tablespoon of oil. I'm just going to eyeball it, but I want you to measure. I've been cooking a long time, so I'm pretty good at estimating. The next thing you're going to want to do is get a big saucepan, so a big one, and fill it with cold water, and then you're going to put this on high heat, and that will bring it to a boil so that you're able to cook your pasta sauce in there. So while that's filling with cold water, I'm going to grate 2 carrots. So I use this side, and some people like to put sugar in their pasta sauce. I prefer to use carrots. Carrots have a lot of natural sugar. And do pretty much the same thing to balance the acidity of the tomatoes out. So I have that. And one more. And you want to be careful not to get your fingers because, I don't want you to be bleeding everywhere and have to go to the nurse. And these little stubs you can either eat, or we do have the worms in here for vermicomposting. So you can put them in the worm hotel or eat them, whichever you prefer. And then I'm just going to scoot up in there and get the rest of this carrot on out so we can have it for our sauce. Alright. So then we are going to dice an onion. So we're not using a whole onion. We are going to use a quarter of an onion. I'm just going to put this down so you can see. And then I am going to put our pot, which is not all the way full, so there's a few inches from the water line up to the top. You're going to put that on high heat. And then we will add half a teaspoon of salt to the water. And the salt doesn't actually help the water boil faster. What it does is it flavors the pasta. If you were to add a ton of salt, it would make the water boil faster, but then your pasta would taste way too salty and be gross. Alright, so then I have a knife. So you just want to trim the little edge and get the skin off, because the skin would be gross. And then I just do one slice right across. Be careful of your fingers. And then slice down, and then go across. And this is going to make nice little squares, so a nice small dice. That's getting a little slippery. All right. And then we're going to take both the onions and the carrots, and we're going to put them in the medium saucepan so that they can soften up. Next thing we're going to do is mince the garlic. So for this recipe, there is 2 cloves of garlic that you need. So the whole thing is called a bulb. So don't do 2 bulbs. That would be way too much. So we're just going to do 2 cloves, which are the little guys inside. So you break them apart, and then I sort of bang on it. And then they have a little hard edge on there, so you just get it off. And then cut little strips. And then you cut little squares. And then I'm going to do the other one. And if your group decides they don't want as much garlic, that's fine. You could do 1 instead of having 2, but I think it's really good. Alright. And a lot of Italian and French dishes start off with what's called like a sofrito or a mariquade, which is just onions, carrots, and celery. It's the base for a lot of recipes, and especially soups. So then we're going to look in here. This is doing pretty good. Turn the light on. So you're going to cook this until the onion skins are translucent. So translucent is like you can almost see through them. And then we'll add the garlic. You do not want to burn garlic. It tastes horrible if you burn it. So this is almost ready. You do not want to swipe your finger on your knife. I know a lot of TV shows they do that, like cooking shows, but I'd rather you not bleed in here. Or cut off your fingertip, because, you know, it's not good. So we're adding that in there. We're going to let that cook for like just a minute, just till the garlic starts to slightly get tan. I'm just going to go and grab the tomatoes and the tomato paste. So for this recipe, we're using crushed tomatoes. If you like your sauce a little bit chunkier, you could certainly use diced tomatoes, or you could even buy whole tomatoes and then break them up yourself. If in the summertime you grow tomatoes, you can use those. Certain types are better than others, like the plum, they call them plum tomatoes. San Marzano tomatoes are considered one of the best ones for pasta sauce. So I'm just going to add this to the pan. All right, so once you have that in there, then you're going to add a quarter can, which is 4 ounces of tomato paste. The tomato paste is dense, so it helps to thicken it, but it also has a ton of tomato flavor. All right, so we are going to turn our heat down, and then we're going to add salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning. So you need a quarter teaspoon. Oh, I went a little over. Quarter teaspoon of salt. Quarter teaspoon of pepper, black pepper. And then we want 1 whole teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Now at home I also have an herb garden, and we have one here at school. So I grow a lot of these Italian herbs, and then before winter comes, I pluck them and hang them up to dry. So this is sort of a blend of all those. So it has rosemary, sage, oregano, thyme, basil. So you get, you know, all of them in one jar, which is pretty cool. You can always grow your own, or if you don't like one, you know, buy only the ones you do like. And for pasta sauces, I feel like dried herbs are better than fresh herbs. When the pasta is done, if you wanted to certainly throw like some fresh basil on top or some fresh flat leaf parsley, that would be good. So we're going to let this simmer while we wait for our water to boil for our pasta. Once the pasta water is boiling, what you're going to do is get a half to a quarter of a cup of pasta water, and then we're going to add a quarter of the pasta sauce to the red sauce. We're going to add a quarter of a cup of the pasta water to the pasta sauce, and the reason for that is it helps to almost bind it, like it helps it almost attach to the pasta when you add it to it, and it also adds a little bit of flavor because the pasta water is salty and it also has the starch from the pasta in there. So I'm going to pause it here until our water's ready to boil. Something I forgot to mention, while your sauce is cooking, if your group wants to, you can add a little bit of red pepper flakes. So you just do, you know, a couple sprinkles. You don't want to do too much because it is spicy. It adds heat to your sauce. It is the same stuff that you can put on top of pizza. They usually have it at pizza places. But again, it's available if you want to put it in there. All right, so we've had our sauce simmering. Now, again, you turn your heat down to pretty low. I have mine's a number dial, so on 2, otherwise it will spit hot sauce everywhere. Now this water is boiling, so I'm just going to grab one of the boxes that Hannaford gave us. So let's see, they gave us rotini and ziti. So again, you just want to look at what it recommends. So this says 9 to 11 minutes, 9 to 10 minutes. So for your group, you're going to use half a box. So again, just eyeball it. Put it in. That's about half a box. We've already salted our water. And then every once in a while, you just want to stir it so that the pasta does not stick to the bottom or stick to the other pieces of pasta, and then look at your clock, and then check it at about 9 minutes. And if you are questioning whether it's done or not, just ask me. So I'm going to pause it again here, and then I'll show you our finished product. Okay, so when your pasta is almost all the way done, you're going to want to get about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of pasta water. So put on your mitt, and then I just dunk it in. You could also just ladle the water into your measuring cup, and then you want to add 1/4 cup to your pasta sauce. And then you'll let your pasta sauce continue to cook for about 5 minutes. Now, your pasta, when it's ready to strain, what you'll do is you'll try a piece. So you'll pull a piece out, and then you'll check it. So you can kind of tell by the way it looks, but I always try it just to be sure. So that's good. Then what you want to do is grab a colander and turn the cold water on. You can actually burst your pipes if you pour scalding hot water down them, and we don't want to do that here or at home. Then you grab both mitts, carefully lift your water, turn off the heat, and then you strain your pasta. And then you want to put your pan back on another burner that's not on, and you continue to let the water run for a few minutes. And then you're ready to eat your pasta. Now at home, I tend to undercook my pasta a little bit and then finish cooking it in the sauce. But just for here, we're gonna do it this way. So then you get a bowl, scoop a little bit of pasta in there. Boop, you'll probably eat more. And then you're gonna scoop a little bit of your sauce. And I also have some Parmesan cheese. So this is already pre-grated. You can buy Parmesan cheese. It is a hard Italian cheese, usually called Parmigiano Reggiano, in a block, and then you can grate it yourself, or you can just buy these guys, and then sprinkle it on, and then enjoy.